Welcome back to the den. I'm Tobin, here today, this evening, to get my shave on with Southern Witchcrafts Autumn Ash, and I have the matching splash. And this was a piff, a gift from none other than the one and only Glenn Sherman. And Glenn has a YouTube channel and an Instagram channel where he shares all his wet shaving adventures. I'll put a link to that in there. Glenn is damn good, people, and I invite you to check him out. Glenn, thank you again for this. I had the sample, and I was loving the sample. I started picking up Southern Witchcrafts at the beginning of this year. Prior to that, I tried one sample before that, and that was a Desirology. It was good, didn't really speak to me. It's on my list right now. But when I started my YouTube channel, something I was thinking about is I needed to, again, start venturing into new brands and stuff like that to share with all of you. And so I picked a couple of brands at the beginning of the year. One of them was to collect, and to fully explore their library of fragrances, if you will. One was Macduff's. I tried them, but didn't really have anything going on. And another was Moon. And then these guys, Southern Witchcrafts. And here we are in October. And I started this probably about March or so was when I actually started buying them and, figuring out my game plan, if you will. My scoop today is once again one of my bougie scoops from Smiles for Miles. And not to get off on another tangent, another squirrelism, if you will. Smiles is killing it with the fragrance game. I now have 5 of his EDPs. I got Soul, Luna, Elixir P, Carnival of Sin, and Elixir L. Head over heels in love with Luna, Elixir L, Elixir P. Holy crap, they're freaking good. So is Carnival of Sin. Carnival of Sin and Elixir P are still new to me. I wore Elixir P to work the other day. Lasted all day long, and the dry down is damn good. If you haven't checked out Smiles EDPs yet, do so. We all know he makes killer brushes. His titty knot and his motorboat knot are off the freaking chart. Some of the best knots in the game today. And the guy whittles quite the handle. Got my trusty rubber band. What was I saying? Southern Witchcrafts. Southern Witchcrafts. How's my hair? I now have 8 Southern Witchcrafts. I really enjoy several of them. Only a few my wife approves of. Autumn Ash is one of them. And I've talked with guys before, they're like, well, my wife likes this fragrance, but I really don't like it. Word of the wise. Your girlfriend, significant other, your wife, if he or she likes a fragrance, you should probably like it too. Learn to like it. The scent notes on Autumn Ash. The scent notes on Autumn Ash: maple, spice, smoke, amber, cedar, oud, rain, plum, blackberry, birch tar, pumpkin, coffee, dirt, and mildew. I was actually checking out how to make a mildew fragrance, and it led me to this Instagram channel. Pretty far out there. There's actually companies that simply make just a mildew fragrance, and to each their own. I don't really pick up mildew in this fragrance per se. I'm using my Commodore X2 Best Badger from Simpson. Love those fibers. So I don't really pick up the mildew per se. again, you know, with so many of these fragrances, yes, a lot of times, you know, we do pick out individual notes, but with a lot of these, especially when you start getting, you know, the fragrance list really long, for me, what I notice, I'm adding a little bit more soap. For me, something that I notice, you know, is you end up getting, you know, more of an orchestra, a much bigger production. And one of my favorite analogies is, you know, if you have an orchestra, and you have a flute playing in that orchestra, when everybody's playing together, you really can't hear the flute. But if you were to remove the flute, you would notice a difference. And so all these things come together to make wondrous music. What I do pick out from this in the top notes, I didn't realize my brush had this much water in it. I was just trying to dry it up, but it'll be fine because Southern Witchcrafts base isn't the thirstiest, but she is a little thirsty. And we're just going to roll with it. So, with the splash, to me, on their sales page, it says something about the quintessential autumn fragrance. And it really, really is, because it smells like a wet, rainy autumn day. Today I was out back raking the leaves. It's sunny, but it has that autumn feel to it. It's dark, like I think it's fair to say most or all of Southern Witchcrafts fragrances are. It is slightly sweet. I pick up, I don't necessarily, you know, smell maple. It doesn't scream maple to me. I get this heavy sweetness to it. I don't know how to describe it. I want to say like a brown sweetness, but that kind of sounds generic when I hear it out loud inside my brain. And amber, we've talked about it before, and amber, as some of you, what was that? Kids. Dog and my daughter knocked over a bag full of Powerades. It sounded like the house was coming down. So I believe I was talking about amber. Amber is a blend of ingredients. It's not just one. And it's actually something that's kind of open to interpretation as to what the ingredients are that you can use them. The word amber, it kind of like goes back to if you saw my Otra video. It's not one of the olfactive families, but there are different terms that are used in perfuming that encompass that kind of thinking, that thought, that imagery. And so what amber is, when you see that word amber, what it's kind of supposed to do is it tells you that there's going to be like a warm, powdery sweetness coming from that amber note. And it can consist of a whole bunch of different things, like a large soiree is one of the words I saw used to describe it. Commonly used: vanilla, patchouli, labdanum, styrex, benzoin, and then there's like a whole list of others, but those ones are your main players in that orchestra. Sorry, I got a little distracted what was going on in the house. Razor today is my 1954 40 style Gillette Super Speed. It has a second use Gillette Silver Blue in it. I have about a day and a half's worth of growth. It is pretty heavy. I got my bowl down here to my right with water in it, and I use my Smiles for Miles soaker mug. And that was from the Shave Line MBD release, which was the Obsession homage with Strike Gold Shave. Oh, that feels so good. So I get a sweet smoky warmness to the opening on the splash, especially. From there, you start moving into the rain, and I still need to educate myself further on rain. If you know exactly what they do to create a rain note, I'd love to know. Like we know, petrichor, the smell of freshly fallen rain. I don't know if that is what they're after in this one, or what exactly, that word rain implies. I don't, here in Oregon, blackberries, especially in Western Oregon, can be found everywhere. We have on one side of our property, in the back, we have a large, it's not a bush, what do you call a whole bunch of blackberries? I'll put it right there. Growth. There's a word for it. But in the middle, I do pick out some kind of sweetness to it. I think maybe, I don't know. There's birch tar in there, and the way birch tar oil is made is you take the bark from a birch tree and you basically chop it up, grind it up into little pieces, and then you put it inside a airtight pot and you heat it. How long exactly, I'm not sure. I've never done it. I've just looked up, the process of it. And then you heat it, and what you get is the bark becomes this black gelatinous concoction. But from there, you're able to extract the resins, the oils that are used in perfuming. Birch tar is one of the biggest and main things that people use to create the smell of leather in perfuming. So in the middle, it's like, this is such a complex scent because you have the plum and the blackberry, which is invoking more of a kind of wild sweetness to it. Then it's like the birch tar kind of grounds it, if you will, pun intended, because this is a very earthy fragrance. Very earthy fragrance. I think I got myself. It's not a Tobin shave unless there's blood, right? And of course, down at the bottom, we have coffee, dirt, and mildew. My wife, she makes homemade spaghetti sauce. Like, not from a jar, she makes homemade spaghetti sauce. And one of the things she uses to knock down the sweetness is a little bit of coffee. Like, not a whole lot of coffee, but it imparts a bitterness to it and somehow reduces the sweetness to something more palatable. I love this fragrance. I really do. And I love that my wife loves it. You may have noticed I'm wearing a shirt that says "Take Care, Man." I know a lot of guys in the community are familiar with Take Care, Man. For those who aren't, in a nutshell, it's a podcast. And its main mission is mental health. And at the core of that, men's mental health. It's done by a fellow named Todd. He lives here in the States. And a gent by the name of Andy, who I want to say he's in England, but he's somewhere in the UK. I know that. Lately, they've been talking about, there's, it's a podcast, so there's lots of different topics, of course, that they go over, and different things that they talk about. I listen to it when I'm at work. It's one of the many podcasts that I listen to at work. Lately, I've been listening to American Storytellers. It's a really, really good history show. But the one of the most recent topics that they've been on is seasonal affective disorder, and that's a type of depression that some people experience, or maybe even all of us to a slight degree, that the winter months brings you down mentally, emotionally, physically. One thing for me, I always look forward to this time of year because it means college football and my Oregon Ducks. And then from there, that rolls us into college basketball, football, and eventually softball and baseball. So I'm always looking forward to late August, early September for that. Then I know also for a lot of people in episode 8, I believe the title was Holiday Blues. I've never really experienced holiday blues, but holiday blues is people when we start getting closer to things like Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, and Christmas. Whether it's because they've lost loved ones, money's tight. I know money's tight for a lot of us right now. Almost all of us, right? We're having to make changes to how we do things. But it's a type of depression that is directly associated with the holidays. And thankfully, my dad is gone, but I still have my mom. And we're actually planning Thanksgiving up there with her today at our daughter's soccer game. But I know that I will definitely miss holidays at her house. My mom has lived in the same house since 1974. I was born in 77. My mom still lives in that same house, and she has a cell phone now, but she also has a landline, like a lot of old timers. And that landline is the same number that she's always had. I have friends who can remember it, from like grade school and middle school, because she's literally had it since, I don't know, late 70s, mid 70s. My understanding it's the only phone number she's ever had at that address. Also, with Take Care Man, here recently on 4 different episodes, they've interviewed some wet shavers in the community. Lather Hog John, Melly Mel Cayenne, I think that's something like that's how you say his name. But Melly Mel, most of you know him as. Greggy Greg Tardif, and Brandon Shaves, all YouTube personalities, if you will, and they're also active members on the wet shaving community on Instagram. And to be honest, I've only watched a couple minutes of Greg's, and I haven't listened to the other ones, but I'm sure it's good stuff. What else I want to talk about today before I start getting into my aftershave? Other than a couple of nicks, like that one right there. That Silver Blue was great. I thought I had there it is. Prazzo Septic Gel. But seriously, if you haven't checked out takecareman.com or their YouTube page, I'll have links in the description. Or if you haven't checked out their Instagram page, I do recommend it. One of the things that they talked about, and I believe it was episode 8, was also how guys like myself who aren't dealing with seasonal depression or holiday depression, how guys like myself and others can help people who are going through with that. Also on their webpage, you will find a support group called Discord. They've got great merch, like this shirt here. I bought this shirt, and it wasn't too bad. It was a little over $20, I believe it was. And with shipping, it was a little bit more. That's the only thing I grabbed. But he does have a whole bunch of different types of merch there, not just shirts. And that all supports the podcast. It is a nonprofit. These guys both have day jobs. It's one of the ways that they give back to the community. And there's also a place there where you can donate. I haven't donated, but I do plan on buying more merch, and I want to encourage you guys just to go there and check it out. And if you haven't, and if you've been listening to it for years, if you got anything that you can add in the comments, that'd be awesome. Todd, I've gotten to know him. I don't know Andy very well. I need to get to know Andy better outside of the podcast. But they put on a damn good podcast that always flies by and always gets something out of it. The stuff. Like I said, on their sales page, it says quintessential autumn fragrance. And it really, really is. On the label, all there is maple leaves falling. It's autumn in a jar. I need to get the EDP. Shave Supply, Gareth has it for $20. Plus you can get it on their website, of course. But I got my eyes on it. It would be one of the next EDPs I grab. So if you haven't checked out Smiles for Miles and his new fragrance line, you can find him on Instagram and on Etsy. He's not a YouTuber, but he does create some of the best brushes on the market today. He's making damn fine fragrances. He just got started doing it this year, and I really look forward to the things that Smiley can do in the future, because Elixir, P, L, and Luna especially, he's done great with all of them. They're all great fragrances, but those four, I just like, they're so good that they're the kind of thing that I never want to be without. As of right now, they're all kind of like limited run productions. So I kind of treat the three of them like gold, especially Luna. Luna is so damn good. If you haven't experienced the shave soap or the aftershave, you need to check that out, the Wet Shaving Store. That's Andy's place, wetshavingstore.com. Glenn Sherman, don't forget him. Damn good friend of mine. We did a live together. He's got his own content. Take care, man. Don't forget to check that out. Saturday, I'm doing a live with Old Fart Mike in Germany. It will be his second time on the show. Sunday, I'm going out into the wilderness. If it's smoky here in the valley, we're going to head to the east or to the far west, wherever there isn't smoke, because we're going to get out of here and enjoy autumn. If you've watched this far, I want to thank you. I appreciate you. And I want to invite you again, check out Take Care Man. I'm telling you, right now, all of you guys can benefit from it. I can benefit from it. Your friends can benefit from it. It's the kind of thing that if you haven't checked it out, do check it out. Don't put it off. Do it at the end of this video. Links are in the description. It's free. The podcasts are free. Doesn't cost you a thing. But you have a lot to gain from it. Even if it's just helping others. Like I was saying in the most recent videos, I now have a couple of new skills and even resources that I can direct people to that are going through these things. I've never experienced them. And so it helps me to be able to relate to people like that. Todd and Andy are the men behind Take Care Man, nonprofit men's mental health podcast. It's the little big things. Until next time, thank you.